Hello everybody, and welcome back to a brand new video. In today's video, we'll be taking a look at the Arizona Senate race and some early vote data and why I think it's looking pretty good for Mark Kelly right now. So, I want to start for full transparency by recognizing that the tweet I have on my screen is from a Democratic strategist. This is Sam Almy, he's a Democrat, Arizona, and he reports early vote data. So he won't lie about the numbers, he will not misconstrue anything. What he will do is he'll put a bit of a partisan spin on it, and that's fine. Obviously, that's his job. I respect him, and I respect the Republicans doing the same, but in the opposite direction. But I do want to be transparent about how this tweet might not exactly tell the full truth, and I'll put a more, neutral context to it. So he says Pima County, which is the home of Tucson, it's the second largest county in the state and second most important for Democrats, continues to push the Dem advantage higher while Maricopa daily returns break even. Friday and Saturday data will include a backfill of rural county data. 2018 advantage, 114,000 Republicans. 2022 advantage, 31,000 Democrats. So this is the amount of votes. These numbers. It's the final, or this is the amount of votes that each party led by heading into election day. So in 2018, Republicans led the early vote. Now Democrats are ahead, and so that might be like, okay, well, wow, that's really good for Democrats because they're doing 140,000 votes better than 2018, which was also a blue wave, right? And so that's true, but it doesn't really tell the full story because, yes, these numbers are not inaccurate. They are technically correct. But it's also fair to notice that, to point out, which is what I'm doing here, that a lot of things have changed since 2018, and a lot of Republicans are now more likely to vote on Election Day than 2018. And I think early voting has become a bit more of a Democratic thing than it was 4 years ago. So yes, these are true numbers, but I do think it's important to put a bit more of a nonpartisan lens on it. So we'll be doing that today. Let's talk with the early vote numbers just so we can, just so I can give you a more clear picture of what's actually happening here. So right now, Democrats have returned 462,000 ballots. Republicans have returned 432,000 ballots, which is a Democratic lead of about 30,000 votes. In 2020, Biden walked into Election Day with a 34,000 vote advantage. So Democrats in a lower turnout election, because it's obviously a midterm, lower turnout, are walking into Election Day with a ballot lead of basically the same amount they walked into it in 2020. And in addition to that, Democrats still have like 5-6 more days to net more ballots, and they've been doing that. They've been gaining a couple thousand every day. It's been a bit of a slog for them. It hasn't really come up in chunks, but it's been getting a little bigger every day, right? And so if that continues, Democrats are looking at it maybe 35, 38, 40K lead on the morning of November 8th, and then we're gonna have to see where E-Day turnout is. So that's where we're at right now, and that's again a pretty good benchmark for Democrats. I say Democrats should be leading by 25 or 20 to 25K to be narrowly favored in the Senate race. They're up by a bit more than that. They're at 30K right now, and again that'll probably keep growing up by a little bit. So Democrats are already outpacing my expectations for them, or even my expectations for them 14 days ago, and so obviously that's good for them. Let's talk about where we're at in terms of the projected votes. Because again, Democrats can have as big of a lead as they want, but if the Election Day vote's super Republican, it won't matter because they're still going to lose, right? And so here's the thing. We all know that, in 2020, Democrats voted early, voted by mail, and they had, big leads walking into Election Day, and then Republicans turned out, and in a lot of cases, they were able to overcome those leads. So again, in Florida, Democrats had a massive, hundreds of thousands of votes ahead coming into Election Day, but Republicans massively outvoted Democrats on Election Day. Were able to win Florida in the end. Same with North Carolina. Same with Ohio. The Republicans came really close to doing so in Wisconsin and Pennsylvania. Democrats had amassed pretty big leads in both those states, but Republicans were not able to kind of get it done there, although they did come pretty close. And so in Arizona, it's similar, but also a bit different. So the early vote data will be a bit more Democratic than I think, the Election Day vote will be. That being said, the Arizona Election Day vote is a lot less polarized than I think people think, because most people think, oh, well, Election Day vote's Republican, so in Arizona it's going to be super Republican. And yes, I think you can give the advantage to Blake Masters on Election Day voters, but in Arizona, Arizona's a super it's a very old state. It's I think one of the oldest states, in the median age is top 5 in America. So again, older voters tend to vote early, and a lot of those older voters are Republicans who've already cast their ballots. And so that kind of caps the GOP edge on E-Day that they've, on Election Day that they've seen in other states. Additionally, in states like Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, Republicans will literally just exclusively vote on Election Day, whereas in Arizona, historically, they've actually voted early, and Democrats have kind of picked up on it. So again, Arizona, and just to prove this, Arizona is a state where there are it's like a little more than half it's maybe like 60% of the population of Pennsylvania. And the Arizona Republicans have already turned in 430,000 ballots. In Pennsylvania, despite the fact there are like almost twice as many people, Republicans have turned in about 150,000 ballots. And that isn't to say Arizona is like a lot bluer than Pennsylvania. It's actually a point redder overall, or was in 2020. But what we do know about Arizona is that Republicans will vote early a lot more than they will in a state like Pennsylvania, just as an example. And so that's pretty good news for Democrats because they already have a lead that's about Biden's lead. And again, lower turnout elections, each vote is worth more. Like one vote out of 100,000 is worth more than one vote out of 140,000, right? And so let's say election day turnout in Arizona is 65 or 70% of what it was in 2020. That 30K vote lead is adjusted for the number of votes cast in total, even better than the 34,000 vote lead that Biden had walking into election day in 2020. So I think, combining all those factors, all else being equal, those are pretty good numbers for Mark Kelly. Democrats have a 3.5% return rate advantage. They're leading ballot returns so far, and they're probably going to expand that lead by a little bit. So Democrats are on track to outpace Biden. And again, Mark Kelly ran 2 points ahead of Biden. So what you could say is that Mark Kelly also had a 34,000 vote lead walking into election day 2020. He won by 2.4%. So if he has, a lead bigger than that, it could be even more. Now, this is not a prediction, but I'm just going to be looking at some of our election shuffler stuff. Let's talk about the election shuffler. This is one of my favorite things to do. So let's go to Arizona, okay? We'll do what we're learning from early vote data. So first thing we're going to do here is we're going to lower turnout in these rural counties because that's historically what happens in midterms. So all this kind of belt of rural counties, we'll say the turnout goes down maybe like 8%. And that's a conservative estimate. It's in a lot of cases been down more than that. So let's just say 8-10%. We'll say somewhere between there. It doesn't have to be exact. It's not a ton of votes. We're just kind of playing around here. I'll put that down to 10. We'll put that at 8 or 9, whatever. It doesn't really matter. I'm just going to adjust these. And then this is a bit of a swing county. Yuma, Trump only won it by about 4,000 votes in 2020. So it's still fairly close, but turnout tends to be down there by a lot in midterms. So this, this bumps your Dem lead up by about 0.4%. So not too much, but it is still worth a fair bit statewide. And then turnout from Maricopa is always up in midterms just as a share of the electorate, probably by, 9-10%. We'll put it at 10. This county here, this is smaller Democratic county, but it's also down turnout by a fair bit. And then, we've been getting a lot of mail-ins and early votes from Pima that have been favoring Democrats. We'll say turnout's up there a little bit. And then these Native American counties up here, specifically Hokanino, as well as Apache, they've historically been decently good for Democrats during midterms, and having Tom O'Halloran on the ballot is going to help turnout stay, decently high in those areas. So, we just want to adjust them here. And then Pinal County is also going to have higher turnout. I forgot about Pinal, but it's also usually higher turnout. So yeah, let's do our margins now. We've kind of adjusted for turnout. Let's talk about our margins. So first of all, Mark Kelly has historically done a lot better in these border counties than Biden. If you look at where he did better, the border counties stick out the most. Let's say he does 4 points better. And that could, by the way, that could be more. That might be a conservative estimate, right? But that's helpful for him. Maricopa, he outran Biden by about a point. We'll just say it's D plus 3. Again, early vote looks pretty good for Democrats in Maricopa, considering it's historically been red early in terms of early voting. Blake Masters is a bad candidate for the county in terms of him being very right-wing and the county being a lot more centrist. Mark Kelly, again, outran Biden by a bit in 2020, so you'd expect him to do better than fundamentals would sell him at. So call Maricopa County another Democratic improvement. And then you could, just to, kind of cap it off here, like Blake Masters is a decent fit for these rural counties, but again, the turnout that isn't helping Republicans is going to be bad. And so, you can just call that a maybe D plus 2 or we call it D plus 2.5 shift in those rural counties because they're a bit more blue down ballot. And Mark Kelly did better there than Joe Biden. And so, assuming these native counties stay equal, which by the way, they might actually shift towards Kelly. He did a lot better in Navajo than Biden did. So you could see an improvement there, but I won't touch it for now. That's already a 2.4% victory, which is by coincidence the exact amount he won by in 2020. Because again, he outran Biden by 2.1% in 2020. And let's say he does it again. Say he wins by 2.4 again, which is what the early vote seems to be reflecting. This is my prediction, but I think it's just a scenario worth talking about. So right now, I'd say Democrats in Arizona are looking pretty good. It's not over. Blake Masters could still absolutely win. It wouldn't even stun me, but Democrats are outpacing my expectations, and Mark Kelly, I think, is on track right now to be reelected. So thank you for listening / watching. If you enjoyed, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'm going to see you all in the next video. Have a great rest of your day, guys.